What is going on, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of Watching Every Best Picture Winner. And this is the segment on my channel where I spin a random wheel and it selects a Best Picture winner and I watch it and discuss it with you guys. And I've had a really fun time doing this series so far because I've watched some of the Best Picture winners throughout my life. A lot of them are the more modern wins, and I've seen some of the classics, but I haven't watched as many as I thought that I had. And so this is a perfect opportunity for me to kind of see which of these movies win and look at the list of like what other movies it was up and nominated against. And as you've seen from the title, I spun the wheel at the end of the last episode and it should be up on the screen for you right now. And the wheel landed on Schindler's List. And this is a movie that I have never seen before, surprisingly. This is a blind spot in my film knowledge. I've seen a lot of clips of it in film school. I know the history of the movie. I understand its poignancy and its relevancy. And it's one of those movies that I've always wanted to watch. I'm not sure why I waited so long to see it. And I'm excited to discuss it with you today. And as I said at the beginning of the last video, make sure you stay tuned till the end of the review, because at the end of this review, I will spin the wheel to let you guys know which Best Picture winner that I'm going to be talking about in the next episode of the series. So stay tuned after the review so you can find out what that movie is and watch along with me if you'd like to join me on this journey. Schindler's List is directed by Steven Spielberg, the true story of how businessman Oskar Schindler saved over 1,000 Jewish lives from the Nazis while they worked as his slaves in factories during World War II. So, similar to what I said about Casablanca in the last episode, whenever you're watching a movie that has this much surrounding it, where there's so much praise and there's so much acclaim, I always worry about watching movies like this because I'm curious if they're going to live up to the hype. I always wonder if the expectations that other people have set for me will be met when I watch a film of this caliber. And what I will say about Schindler's List is this movie is nothing short of a masterpiece. This is the greatest movie that Steven Spielberg has made in his career. It's truly remarkable that the man who is known for making these large Hollywood spectacle films that always have this like air of magic and mystery, and sometimes like can have its cheesy on the nose moments, but always incredible to sit through, can make a movie that is so harrowing and depressing, and really the story of one person who, being exposed to the horrors around them, shifts their entire perspective on what life is about and what you should be doing with your life and the importance of other human lives, and then utilizes the ability that they have to try to save as many people as they possibly can from this horrendous atrocity. And I think the way Spielberg explores it in this movie, I don't know how you could watch this and not be moved in one way, shape, or form. And I think that I'm very glad that this movie exists. I think that, when we look at something as horrible as the Holocaust and everything surrounding the Holocaust, the things leading up to it, an entire group of people being persecuted solely for their religious beliefs. And genocide isn't new. It's happened in history. It continues to happen throughout time now. And it's just so important for pieces of media like this to exist, to remind people on what we need to do to fight back against things like this happening. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the movie today. So at the beginning of the movie, we are dropped into Krakow, which is in Poland, and it's been occupied by the Nazis during World War II. And we are introduced to our lead character, Oskar Schindler, who is a member of the Nazi party we see early on in the film. It seems like the element of like religious persecution towards the Jews, all of those things, that doesn't really seem to be at the top of Oskar Schindler's mind. What he wants to do is utilize the situation to his own advantage to create a business so that he can make a ton of money. And so what he does is he starts bribing Nazis in the community to be able to build this warehouse. He ends up hiring Itzhak Stern, played by Ben Kingsley, who is a Jewish man living in this part of Poland, to help manage his finances and keep the business together. And essentially, because Jews are being rounded up and taken away from their homes. He can work with the Nazis to bring them in essentially as slave labor, and they can work for him to manufacture these pots and pans out of steel. And he does that, and he starts making a ton of money, and his business is incredibly successful. And early on in the film, we see his success, the way he lives his life. He has a broken relationship with his wife. He's constantly having affairs. She doesn't even really want to be around him at this point in his life. And he's very much just about his own success. Well, simultaneously, we see all of the horrors that are happening to these Jews living at Poland in this time. They're all removed from their houses. They end up putting in this very cramped housing spaces until they are placed in concentration camps near these facilities in Poland. And when the movie really starts to take off is when Amon Göth, played by Ray Fiennes, shows up, who is the military leader for the Nazi party that is going to take over the concentration camp that a lot of these Jewish workers or slave labor that Oskar Schindler will be moved to at this period in time. And he gets there. He is a vile, despicable, disgusting human being who has no regard for human life. And him and Oskar Schindler have a lot of conversations together, and they spend a lot of time together. And Oskar Schindler eventually witnesses this young girl in a red coat moving through the streets while Krakow is being raided by Nazi soldiers, and he just is in complete disbelief that this young girl is here and no one's paying any attention to her as he's seeing these people massacred in the streets. And it moves him, and it completely shifts his perspective. And the entirety of the film is Oskar using his factory to try and claim these Jewish people as essential workers so he can try to save as many of their lives as he possibly can. So like I said, this movie is remarkable in every sense of the word. It is one of the most difficult movies that I've ever watched in my life because it's all too real. I have seen so many movies about the Holocaust in my life, and they're never easy to witness because just knowing that this actually happened and knowing that like human life was treated as nothing and that these people were viewed as animals by the Nazis and or less than animals in most cases, it's just truly heart shattering. And it very much if it doesn't move you, I don't know what to say. But that watching this movie and seeing like these horrible atrocities, but seeing one person who was clearly blinded to, you know, exactly what the Nazis were capable of and or was open-minded to it and was trying to use it to their own advantage, realizing I'm in the wrong here. This is horrible and we need to do something about it. I think that that's so true to the experiences of so many people, and I tie it into the current political landscape because, you know, a lot of people ask me all the time, like, when you know, align yourself with progressive ideologies and you vote more left leaning, what drew you to that point in your life? And it's like having empathy and compassion for other people. Like, that's as simple as that is. But for so many people, and I've seen this multiple times, people that were born and raised on the right or in conservative ideologies that have more hateful mindsets about groups of people because they're unwilling to understand. The moment that a lot of those people, when you see conversations where they've shifted from the right to the left, are when things directly impact their lives, or when something happens that's in their bubble that they live in and it shakes them apart. And that's very true to the case of Oskar Schindler in this movie. He witnesses something that is close to him that he sees firsthand, and he just can't stand for it anymore. And I think that there's something so powerful about seeing that, and like that witnessing something can be what it takes to shake someone awake to the horrors and atrocities around them. And that's really what I think is so profound about this movie. And I can go into detail about all the little elements of the film. The performances in this movie, there's not a single bad performance in this movie. Liam Neeson is nothing short of remarkable in this. Like, his performance, I was really kind of surprised. towards the end of the movie, his little last monologue that he gives is probably one of my favorite things that I've ever watched in a movie. I just thought that it was so remarkable and moving and just really brilliantly done. Ben Kingsley is probably the most underappreciated part of this movie. I loved his character and I thought that he was handled so very well. Just anytime that he was on screen, I was completely and totally moved by his performance. Ray Fiennes probably plays the most despicable villain that I've ever seen in a movie. And what's really interesting is they give him this personality where he's constantly just like laughing and joking about all of these horrible things that are occurring around him. And it just makes him so much more hateable. And I think that that's exactly what you need for this movie. And he's kind of the vehicle that keeps you thriving, wanting to see so many of these people saved from this situation. And it's really all these performances are what make a very remarkable film. The cinematography in this is breathtaking. I think that Spielberg choosing to utilize black and white cinematography and to only use color really in a few scenes, especially with the red coat on the young girl who's moving through the streets of Krakow when it's being invaded. I really thought that that was a brilliant piece of filmmaking. And one of the things that I love so much about using black and white is the power of like shadow in this, especially in the moments where people are trying to hide or run for their lives. It creates a very intense feeling of anxiety and suspense and dread that is so palpable from each and every frame. And I like the cinematography in this. It's the best in Spielberg's career. I don't even think that there's any sort of argument there. Like the visual presentation in this film is truly incredible. And obviously the score from John Williams is just amazing. I think John Williams is one of the greatest composers ever lived. I think that he's worked with Spielberg multiple times throughout his career. The music in this movie, the word I would use to describe it is haunting. I think it does such an amazing job carrying the movie along and really like adding to the moments that hit really hard emotionally. And it's another reason why the film works so well. And obviously, there's been a ton of movies about the Holocaust throughout the years, but I think what Spielberg does such a brilliant job of doing is painting the realism of the events through the eyes of the Jewish people who were living it. It feels like in every single scene, he's trying to just showcase to the audience over and over again. When you think about the Holocaust, a lot of times it's like we're thinking of the entirety of the Jewish community at that time. But he is very much trying to showcase to you, these are individual people. And there's so many scenes of like people being forced to give their names, and the way the camera lingers on each and every person. It provides that hard-hitting thing of like these were human beings living their lives that an evil man, because of his hatred, decided, I don't like these people because I have this prejudice in my heart, and because of that, I'm going to eradicate them. And it's truly like my brain just can't process that, because in life, people have different backgrounds and belief systems and ideologies, and it's the way the world works. I think one of the most beautiful things about America is that every day of my life when I drive out and around or I see people of different colors and religions and backgrounds. And it's what brings so much beauty to this planet, is that there's people that have different lived experience, and sharing in their lived experience is what makes this place so special, or I guess the idea of what could make this place so special. And the concept of hating a group so much just because of the religion and the ideology that they're born into, it doesn't register in my brain. I can't understand that. Like, and I can't grasp how so many people were okay doing that. And I see these scenes in this movie, like one of the scenes that just, it still shakes me to my core thinking about is like when the children are being rounded up at the concentration camp. And you see these kids who really don't have any kind of understanding as what's happening other than they're in danger, and the places they're hiding, and like the kids crawling in like the outdoor toilets to try to hide under there. It's just like, it doesn't shake you to your very core. Like I don't know what to tell you. And I think, We're living in some very disturbing times right now where there have been people talking about erasing elements of history, not just history in regards to, the Holocaust, but looking at the current United States political administration trying to defund PBS and NPR, eradicating history of Black Americans fighting in the military and in the Air Force, and their history being erased from military archives. And one of the most horrific things that can happen is to erase history so people can forget about it. And there have been Holocaust deniers for years and years, which how you could deny something that's so right there, and there's so much factual things that exist, that people that lived through it. Like, it's remarkable to me that there are people out there who would try to erase something horrible like this because you never want it to repeat again. And unfortunately, genocide is a very real factor. People being murdered in large amounts, we've seen it over and over again throughout the years. Not necessarily to the same scale as the Holocaust, but human life is human life. And I'm very glad that Spielberg was able to make a movie that is so profound and thoughtful, and then utilizing after the film closes to pay respect to the survivors of the Holocaust. And I think that scene is incredibly beautiful, and I'm really glad that he incorporated it into the movie. And it's a movie I'll never forget for the rest of my life. I truly think this is one of the most beautiful pieces of film ever made. It's not an easy watch, but I think if you're a fan of filmmaking in general, and if you are, you love movies, I think this is a movie that you need to see at least once in your life. Have you seen Schindler's List? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was remarkable. It's the best film in Steven Spielberg's career, and it's going to be at the top of the list as one of the best in the Best Picture winners. It's going to be really hard to top. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. Like this series right here. I've been having a lot of fun doing this, and I really hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. And before the episode ends, we're going to pull the wheel up. It is spinning right now, and we are going to find out what movie we are going to be watching in the next episode. And hopefully we don't land on something we've already watched. And we're going to get, oh, I'm very excited. We landed on Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water from 2017. I have seen this movie a few times. I will always look forward to rewatching it, and I'm excited to talk about it with you in the next episode. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.